So you get your chance to win by asking questions. And also, for the person that asks the very best question at the end of the event today, at the end of Club Wealth TV today, we're going to give you 5 extra tickets into that Hawaiian vacation giveaway drawing. So that being said, Mike and Brian, what are your first questions for Kevin? How do you want to kick this off?
Man, I'm excited. My first question, Kevin, is what year did you get into the business?
I got into the business 2002.
Good for you. Okay, so you got to go through the recession and you got to learn what real work was all about, and we can appreciate that. So like you said, you wanted to start from the beginning. Give us a little bit about how you got in and how you got to where you are now. And then I can't wait to dive into some of the lead gen and team building stuff you're doing.
Yeah, sure. So I got into real estate straight out of high school. I really didn't know what I was doing. Luckily my dad had a friend who was a broker. And he said, hey, do you want to go work for this real estate company? And I was like 19 years old, and I was like, absolutely, right? So I went in. They got hired. They hired me, and the first thing that I did was I asked my broker what I should do to generate business, and he said, go into the phone book and start making phone calls. And I literally opened up the yellow book, and I went down the list, and I started making calls. And of course, it didn't go very well to begin with, but eventually that's sort of what built my confidence and led to where we are today as far as like prospecting and things like that. But so I started off. Then I started working for a developer. There was a developer called it's called Morrison Homes, now called Taylor Woodrow or Taylor Morrison, and started out really, really early. Got some great training. And yeah, I definitely rode the cycle. Like I got in right after 9/11, which was difficult. Then I rode the big wave in 2004. Did extremely well with this developer at a super young age. I was the #1 agent in the country at like 23 years old. They had like, I don't know, 1,000 agents or something. And I got sent to all these training courses and stuff like that. And I got to learn. And again, it came down to a lot of prospecting. And I was, people would come into our office. They'd fill out the registration form. I'd go back and reach out to them, thank them for coming in, send them an email and constant follow up. And then I got out of that, started doing resale back into what we're doing today. And as an individual agent, again, back to the prospecting, back to the cold calling, setting appointments for myself. But then what happened, the market tanked in 2007. And I was in the Central Valley, of California, which was the epicenter of the foreclosure crisis in the United States.
Yeah.
And so I went from literally crushing it at a super young age. At that time, we were selling like $700,000 houses in Modesto, California, and unreal, crazy. And so it felt like overnight I went from $700,000 homes to like $100,000 homes because of the foreclosure crisis. And have you guys ever been to a house where you walk in and there's like a bunch of business cards all over like the island? Do you ever see that when agents business cards? Okay.
Absolutely.
So I remember I was miserable at the time because, just had this big correction. I can't sell anything. And I remember going and showing this house, and it was like $100,000 house, and there were no cabinets in the house. There was like no toilets. It was a disaster. Right? It was a foreclosure. I'm walking in, and I see all these business cards everywhere, and with these clients that are like, they're not really serious and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is not working, right? I'm like, something has to change. I'm failing. Things aren't going very well. So I remember getting home that night, and I talked to my wife, and something has to change. I have to do something. And I thought, I was like, well, San Francisco is 90 minutes away from me, right? It's the biggest city in the world. It's the most expensive city. It's super successful. I'm failing here in Modesto. So if I'm going to fail, let me fail big. Let me swing for the fences. Let me go for it. So I literally, again, went back to the cold calling, prospecting. I started buying some internet leads at the time. This was like 2008. This is like when internet leads first kind of came out. Mm-hmm. And I started buying them in San Francisco. And I started making calls, and one thing led to another. I started setting appointments for myself, and then I just eventually gradually went from having a business in the Central Valley to having clients in San Francisco, and I moved. I didn't know anyone I just went strictly.
That's crazy, man. Congratulations. That's a super scary move. And we talk to agents all the time that say, gosh, I hate my price range. I'd love to move, but my friends are here, my family's here, and they do it, and they're just always super successful. It's really neat to watch. So congratulations on that. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it was a scary move, but at the end of the day, what I relied upon was I believed in myself. I mean, I knew I had these skills, and it's really the same thing, regardless of where you are. It's just a matter of building, having a system, having a process that you know works. And in our industry, I mean, it's really easy to do something that a successful person does anywhere, if that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can do what you're doing. I'm sure you can teach me, and I'm in San Francisco, you're in Southern California. It's the same process. It's the same thing. You pick up the phone, you call, you say the same thing. So it's it can easily be done, and that was what drove me, and yeah, I think that's the purpose of why you're doing what you're doing, Michael. Right? I mean, you're sharing these ideas that can be used by anyone, anywhere. They just have to apply them.
Exactly right. Well, I have a question for you, Kevin, before we move too far forward. So when you made that move to San Francisco, did you have a whole bunch of money to go with it? You know, were you able to start off with a big bankroll, or did you literally you showed up with like not a dime in your pocket kind of thing?
Well, I had a little. I didn't have a lot. I had a few deals that had closed in the Valley, and then I had some escrows. Okay, like I had like 3 or 4 escrows. I mean, I had probably about, I don't know, like 6 months worth to survive, and I could have done it with less than that, but that was what it was for me at that particular time. And yeah, I mean, it's people. I mean, it was a big move. It was scary, and that was what drove me though. Like that fear, I used it to like motivate me to keep going. And
well, you know, we get a lot of people that are doing kind of what you're talking about. Like Mike said, people that want to move into a different price range. I just had a conversation with one just before we got onto this call. You know, they're going to move into another market to go from a 175 average price point to even 330, which for them is a big deal, right? That's a big jump in price point, and so they have to go to another market to do that. But a lot of times when people do this, their first thought is, okay, well, I got to have a bunch of money to buy leads, or I've got to pound the phones for FSBOs and expireds. What lead generation activities did you do when you were brand new? I got the whole phone book thing, and that's awesome. But other than that, what did you do to start bringing in business right away?
Well, I mean, what I did was I started buying internet leads. They weren't very expensive. I don't know if you've heard of US HUD. Like these are like most lowest priced leads out there. I mean, it's like people are looking for $100,000 houses in $1 million market. Like these are. I mean, so I was just like doing that, and it wasn't very expensive at all. And I think, there's so many free ways to do it. One of the things that I did, just thought of it, was so when I got here, didn't know anyone. And the same thing, how am I going to generate business? So what I did is I went out and found a lender. And what I did is I walked into, and I didn't want to just find any lender. I went to a local branch with a lot of pedestrian traffic. And I walked in and I said, I'd like to meet with your loan officer. It was a Bank of America. And I walked in and I met with them and I said, hey, like I do a lot of phone calls, prospecting, stuff like that. I get a lot of buyers. I'd love to partner with you and maybe get some referrals from you. And in exchange, I'll refer people back to you. And it was like a kind of a mutual benefit. And then what ended up happening from that was, they would you'd have all these great walk-ins that would come in and ask for loans. They're looking to buy a house, right? And he would refer those people to me. That was a big thing that I did that really, really helped. And it was free, and it changed into now doing seminars. Like we would start doing first-time homebuyer seminars. We start doing educational seminars for people, and we would leverage the bank. They would promote this thing for me, and they talk to their members, the people at the branch, and the tellers would talk about it and get people excited. I'm talking about 2009, and I still get people hitting me up from those first-time homebuyer seminars at that bank today. They call me and ask me questions, and I love it. I answer. Those seminars were they were really, really powerful. And you think about like first-time homebuyer seminars, especially people are like super impressionable at that stage in their life when they're thinking about buying a home. they look at you, and this person, you can be 1 year in the industry, right? I mean, you don't have to have that much experience. You just have to go talk about real estate and just talk about things that you do know, and share with them some of the things that they can do, like their options. And that was a really big thing for me, Michael, was an easy way and free way that didn't cost me anything to start generating business.
We did a lot of that too. I actually did 3 different types of seminars early in my career. I did a home buyer, home seller, and a home investor seminar. And what was really cool is I would partner with, and we talk about this occasionally, but I don't think we talk about it enough, because you hit the nail on the head. These are a great way to start getting some business coming in that doesn't cost a lot of money. It's very easy to do. You can get partners to help promote it. So what we did was we actually went to the Parks and Recs departments around town. And the Parks and Recs departments, they're always looking for great content. You can't do a big sales pitch at these things, right? They don't want to see that. But by doing these 3 different types of seminars, we were able to really build an audience. And I didn't care if 5 people showed up or if 55 people showed up. I put on the same show every single time. We gave them a little booklet. We followed up with them afterwards. We offered a free incentive. So we call it an ethical bribe, right? So we'd offer them some kind of an incentive to do business with us, free appraisal or free whatever, or some added value. And I got to tell you, it worked really, really well for us. And in fact, we took it to the level that down there, you guys have something called the Learning Exchange. The Learning Annex is what it's called down in San Francisco, I believe. But they've got them all over the country. And it's not just those, but there's adult education facilities where they do these, courses for people, these adult education courses. And again, they will let you come and do events for them, and they're promoting it themselves inside their marketing material. They just need great content. So bravo to you. That's a great tool.
Yeah. And then another thing, if you think about moving into another market, I mean, you can go to a building, that's got condos or rentals, and then ask them if you can put on some sort of a seminar for their members, or go to a community like in Southern California, or like a lot of areas in the country have these gated communities. I mean, you can go there and say, hey, I'd love to put something on for free. I mean, that's just a matter of, you can create an entire business through that. And that's absolutely free. I mean, it might cost you, like you said, some of those, things that you can offer, but we would just bring in we bring in chips and cookies and apple juice. I mean, people would show up.
Those things really still work today. And now with technology, we have webinars too. So you can do first-time home buyer webinars, and why not do a first-time home seller webinar as well? I mean, you can go on all day about how awesome these are. They turn into the chamber comes hunting you down and says, hey, will you do that for our chamber? There's business associations that come to me now and say, hey, will you teach that to our business association? Sometimes they'll pay you, and they promote you all over the place. So it's awesome. So obviously, Kevin, you really busted your bum and you worked hard. Tell us a little bit about the transition from a normal agent to opening your own brokerage and starting to build a team, because I can see you're really, obviously super motivated and you're going to be successful. So all our viewers can obviously say, yeah, if I pick up the phone, start in the yellow pages, then build relationships, I'm going to be a mega agent. So tell us about that little transition into brokerage and building teams, because obviously that's the wave of the future, and I'm fascinated to hear about it.
The way that I did it was, I think I would say kind of organically. There's obviously a lot of ways that people can go about it. I mean, you can just start out, buy a bunch of leads, or start building a team. But the way I did it was I got to a point with all these methods, talking about like prospecting and these relationships that were built, and I just got to a certain point where I couldn't do any more myself. I got to a certain point where I just was full. I cannot go anymore, and now it's becoming counterproductive, right? So I maxed myself out. And when I got to that point, I was like, okay, well, how am I gonna like continue with this? Like, it's not sustainable. I'm gonna die, right? I'm gonna pass out, right? So then what I did was I found prior to that, I was doing the internet leads. So I knew I had something that I can provide to people that they can go and work, right? I had something of value that I can provide. So for me, I didn't hire an assistant first, because I was too scared and I'm too cheap. So what I did was I had leads and I had business coming in, So the business that I didn't want to do, frankly, I would hand that off to people that would be interested in doing it. So for me, I started buying a bunch of internet leads, and I had too many to handle. And so I reached out to agents and I asked if they'd be interested in partnering up with me, and that they'd be interested in doing some leads and doing a referral, and I would provide them with volume. And they were not only leads that were through the internet, but these were referrals that I was getting from business that I had done or business that I was doing, and I was still working myself. I'm still maxed out, and I was referring these leads out, and that was like step number one. And then what ended up happening was I was like, okay, well, this is going pretty well. I'm giving these leads out and these clients and stuff, and then I was like, okay, well, maybe I can step off the gas a little bit as far as doing the deals myself, and I can empower people. Then I was like, whoa, something clicked. I can empower others, and they were happy, and they were getting more successful, and their families were, their lifestyles were changing, and it was really exciting. It was something that just touched me. And so I started taking my foot off the gas a little with regards to production and doing more of the lead stuff. And naturally, when I say organically, when I mentioned it earlier, I kind of became an assistant. I was their assistant. Right? I was their assistant. I worked for them. And that's kind of cool, but it worked because I was still managing my business. A lot of people have a problem, I think, with letting go. That was a big problem for me. I don't want people dealing with my clients. You're crazy, they're gonna screw it up. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do, right? So that was a problem, and I felt like it was another big jump for me to do that, to let go. It's one of those things I don't know. I think you just have to kind of get over it. I think you just have to let it go. Just try it, let it go, see what happens. And believe me, it's not as bad as you think.
It's interesting. I was watching. I was reading an article actually about the founder of Google, and these guys have not only started Google, they've started a bunch of other wickedly successful companies. And one of the things that they credit their success with is the ability to let go and the ability to delegate effectively. Hire the right people, delegate effectively. And I can't agree with you more. I hear all the time from people, oh my gosh, nobody's going to do it as well as I can, and nobody's going to be as great at it as I am, and I'm gonna lose money if I give money. If I give half my commission away to a buyer's agent, then I'm losing money. And man, nothing could be further from the truth. You've got to empower the people around you, and if you can make their circle of opportunity bigger, then all of a sudden your circle of opportunity becomes bigger. And Brian, I'd love to hear your favorite fruit quote on this one. You've got to, Brian's got the lockdown on the fruit quote here.
So I guess I get to do my fruit quote. Okay, so I was hoping I would get to do that today. The idea of would I rather have an entire grape, or would I rather have half a watermelon or a part of a watermelon? So obviously the idea is, hey, let's not just be so focused on being able to do everything myself. And I personally know that I don't want to do everything myself. I'm actually kind of like you, Kevin. I love your story, and when you're talking about I was afraid to hire an assistant, I was afraid to hire an assistant for two reasons. First of all, I was cheap, and then second of all, I never wanted to not be able to pay that person. I went through the crash like you did. You're like, oh gosh, is it going to happen again? And so I had to overcome some fear before I did that. But along those lines, for me, the question I'd really love to ask you, because it's important to me. I talk to people all the time who are having this problem. The problem is that they're too successful. And I know that sounds kind of funny, but what I mean by that is they're successful where they're at. And you talked about fear, and fear made you go and do a bunch of stuff. But once you're past the fear, once you're comfortable, once you can pay your bills and your car, and maybe you can go on vacation once a year, what's the mindset that you use to get to 2.4 million?
Well, I think a big part of that is planning. And so thinking about where, when you get to a certain point, you want to plan for where you want to go, where the end result, what end result you want to achieve. And so that then becomes the goal. That then becomes the motivator. And that's what I use to motivate myself. It's, I want to get to a certain point, and it's important to have the plans in place and have these things written down so that you have a path that you can follow. And beyond just the kind of like knee-jerk sort of reaction to whatever is happening, for me, there was like I acted upon a feeling that I had, where now it's a lot more sort of planned out and concise, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. What I like about that is, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Brad. But what I love about that is that, because people get there, I deal with this every day. And I think all of us do at some point with people we're coaching and helping out, that they get to that point where they're making just enough money to finally, relax a little bit, feel comfortable, feel a little bit happy in the business, not enough to be super ecstatic about it and be like, oh my gosh, check it out, I'm killing it. But, they're at least making enough money to have a good life. And what happens is the thing that I really worry about is when they start taking their foot off the gas at that point, the market shifts and all of a sudden it becomes much more difficult to get that momentum back. Whereas when you follow what Kevin's saying, where you literally, you keep your foot on the gas a little bit because you set goals and you go into motion following those goals and you get really focused on those goals, then guess what? The momentum takes over and it just becomes what you do. But you got to be very, very careful about taking your foot off the gas. And I'm not saying that everybody's got to set the goal of doing 2.4 million in GCI. I think that's unrealistic. But what you do need to do is you need to set the goal higher than what you think you need, because if you set it for what you need, there's going to be challenges that come up that are going to put you in a financial bind. And once you get into a financial bind, it becomes very difficult to do the things you need to do in your business to continue to be successful. You have to start making decisions about, okay, what am I going to cut? What am I going to slow down on? Because money's tight right now, and you start giving up on the two things you can't give up on are coaching and lead generation. Those are two things you've got to have in your business. And those are two of the things that a lot of people cut in when times get tough. And what happens is as soon as you cut those two things, it just starts to be a roller coaster downhill, and your income's impacted for a much longer term than it needs to be. So bravo to you, like that. So Brian, back to you. I'm sorry about that. I just wanted to jump in on that.
You mind if I jump in real quick on this?
Please,
No,
Kevin.
please.
A couple things. One is I really, really believe that if you're not moving forward, you're moving backward, right? If you're not moving forward, you're moving backward. If you think about that, that's really profound. And the other thing is, if you are successful and you get to a point where you're feeling comfortable and you're feeling good, okay, well, what got you there? What got you to that point? That drive that you had to get you to that point is why you're there. So why would you stop that, right? So it's you have to be willing. Like, it's like I didn't have a lot of money growing up. My family came immigrants from a different country, and we didn't have money. So I like to think of myself in that spot, have the same mentality as when you first started, having that drive of, what got you to where you are today. And if you have money and you're doing well, it's sometimes easy to forget about that. But I think it's important to keep it in mind and keep the drive, and keep pushing forward. And the one last thing is, another, I think, thing that people think about, or that happens to people when they become successful, is they feel like I've felt in my life like, oh, I know a lot. I know it all, right? I've done it. I know what to do. But once you stop looking up at whatever, like if you stop looking up at people and looking and having and being willing to learn, suicide basically, right? Yeah. Suicide. Think about coaching, the greatest of all time. Michael Jordan, right?
Yeah.
Did he have a coach or not?
Absolutely.
The best in the world. Have they been advised by other people? Yes, right? So there's always, no matter what you're doing, no matter where you're at, there's always someone that knows more. There's always someone that's done more. There's always someone that has achieved greater success. And so I think that's important to keep in mind when you get to a certain point, to look up and look for that mentorship, or look for something that's going to help you grow in your business.
Yeah, Kevin, let me jump in real quick. So a couple things that I'm saying is, okay, we're always learning, we're always looking up, we're always looking at. It is funny. The more successful you are, the more coaches you have to have. It's ridiculous. You think you get smarter, but really you get dumber, and you need more smart people around you, which is, it's weird. But as I get older, I find that out. I got like 6 coaches now. It's ridiculous. Health, business, finance, everything. So, but one of the things I want to see is, what does your team look like as far as marketing. We know in this business, and you've definitely figured out, it takes money to make money. I'd love to see an idea, like a little snapshot of your marketing team. You said something earlier on the call that was fascinating to me. You do your own pay-per-click campaigns, and you're doing a lot of stuff with Facebook. And there's so many people out there that are small brokerages or just kind of starting to do what you're doing, or maybe even thinking about wanting to do. So what does that monthly budget look like? What does your team look like for marketing? How much do you outsource? How much is in-house? Can you show us a little snapshot of that?
Sure. So like I basically started I learned on my own and started doing things on my own. And then I'm not really a techie kind of person and was like, get stuck on stuff. So, kind of knowing what you don't know is really important. So I found people that could do those things for me. It's not very expensive, and you can find people all over the world that can do Google PPC ads for you. It's not that difficult. So our spend, we at one point was stupidly high. It was ridiculous. And, but now we're probably around, I'd say like $7,000 or $8,000 a month. We scaled that back from like $40,000 a month, which is really stupid. But because of Facebook, because of our database that we've built, we are generating more leads than ever. And so as far as in Google AdWords using Google AdWords. We have a website, markersf.com. We have a really nice registration form. People go in, they register, and basically we follow up with them. We have so we do have an inside sales team. Do you want me to get into that part of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, please.
So we have an inside sales team, and again, it was like kind of a one-by-one thing. Like I was the first ISA. Everyone knows what an ISA is, an inside sales associate. It's a person that basically handles the inbound calls, that calls out, that reaches out to your database. So I was that person when I was referring those leads out and those clients out to my people on my team. I was the person that was inbounding. I was making the initial phone calls. I was following up, and I was assigning leads to people on my team. And that's basically, it's been replicated now. So I've duplicated myself. I have like all these like not little, but I have all these Kevins running around doing the exact same thing that I've been doing throughout my career. So we have 4 people that are part of our leads team. They're inside sales associates. When leads come in, what they do is they pre-qualify these people, and then they assign them to agents on our team based upon like area, based upon their level of experience as far as the agent goes, and so on. But we've also sort of started to shift that model, and I'm talking with Michael about this a couple of weeks ago. We're now starting to assign leads to agents directly and holding them accountable. So we've kind of built a hybrid ISA model. So with our Facebook leads, because we're doing like 1,000 or so, like 950 to 1,000 leads a month with Facebook, it's a little bit too much for 4 people to handle that many leads. So we're assigning those leads directly to people on our team, and we're keeping people accountable. We have a CRM that we use. There's a billion CRMs out there you guys can pick out. I'm not sure, Michael, if you have one that you'd like to use. But
which one do you use now? Is this one that you made, or is this one that you're purchasing?
We didn't make it. We do use Google Sheets. Google Sheet could really become. You could use Google Sheets as a CRM, but
Really?
But we use Top Producer.
Talking Brian's language.
Yeah, Google Sheets is great because you can there's a lot of little formulas you can use, and you can assign things right away. But we use Top Producer. It's the old workhorse, right? It's not fancy.
I love Top Producer. I got to tell you.
Yeah.
It's funny because a lot of agents don't like Top Producer. And by the way, we have a discount code for them. I'll put that in the thing right now. And I didn't know you were going to talk about Top Producer, but I do remember the code, so I'm going to type it in. But we like Top Producer a lot. I used it for 15 years. I scaled from being just myself and one assistant to having a 44-person team on Top Producer. The reason agents a lot of times don't like it is because it does so much. It's kind of convoluted. It's complex, but their teams love it because it does everything, and it's all in one place, and it's very organized, and it's got checklists for everything, and it's great. I love Top Producer.
It has a lot of features, and sometimes people do get overwhelmed by them, and you don't have to use all of them then. Don't use everything. Just use a couple. Like we use notes. We use the notes. Like we just track and take notes in Top Producer. We also use the action plan, so you can do like email drip campaigns for a long period of time. You can customize them. We don't use it for very many things other than that. Like there's like maybe 2 or 3 other things that we use it for. So it's not like you don't have to learn everything at once, right? Just take what you need and build upon it. And so I like Top Producer because it's steady, it's there. I hardly ever have issues with it.
And here's the best part about it. It's cheap. I mean, it doesn't cost a lot of money. Anybody can afford it. It's like $25 a month, with our deal. I just put that in the thing, by the way. It's topproducerdeal.com. That being said, I wanted to come back to, we were talking about Juan Chavez, actually. I'm sorry. This is what I wanted to ask, because Juan Chavez asked a great question. And thank you for posting your question, Juan. And that is, when you were an ISA, what was your lead source and flow?
So one of our main lead sources, probably the biggest, was Realtor.com. Mm-hmm. Realtor.com was a big source for us. We've also used Zillow. We've used Zillow. We've used, like I said, Google PPC ads, pay-per-click ads. Those leads aren't as good, but then they're not as expensive. And we were generating. I mean, now it's we're doing like 1,500 leads a month, but back then maybe 300 or so a month that were coming.
For how many agents?
When I first started, probably like 10 or so.
Okay, so about 30 leads per agent per month. Is that about right?
Yeah, and that's about the I think about the limit that people can handle at one time. 30 to 40. Maybe you disagree, but for me, from my experience, from what I've seen, that's about.
It's interesting you say that, because I feel like it really depends on the market that you're in. If I'm in California, then that's about it. They can do about 30 to 40 leads per month, and beyond that. And let's call it what it is. It's because you freaking guys in California, man. It's I sell a house, I made $20,000. It must be nice, right?
Time to go surfing, dude.
Arkansas, I sell a house, I got to roll pennies for gas still, right? I'm just kidding. I love it.
No, that makes sense.
Amazing how I eat.
What's that, right?
I said it's amazing how I even eat.
He's got a Starbucks in front of him. He ain't doing too bad.
Well, with the thing though, you're right. I agree with you, Michael, because there are a lot more units I just feel like there's a lot more units in those markets, right? So a lot more sales happen.
The expectation is also very different in California, and in other very high-end markets around the country. There's a different level of expectation with these agents, where a lot of times in California, they're happy if they do a transaction a month. If I'm in Bentonville, Arkansas, man, I am gonna do 3, 4, 5 transactions a month to have a good lifestyle, and so I'm gonna need a few more leads, and I'm gonna need to work harder to generate my own leads in addition to the team leads that are provided for me.
Yeah, just as an example, in our market, sorry to interrupt you, Michael. In our market, less than 10% of agents do more than 10 transactions a year.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's nationwide. That's not unique to you guys. That's all over the place. There's very few agents who are doing much more than that.
Hey, Kevin, let me ask you a quick question about the ISA, because I think the ISA model is something that people are really pushing towards nowadays. I hear it over and over and over again, but I also hear over and over again, I had an ISA and it didn't work. So obviously it's working for you. You've got 4 ISAs in place. You've got a pretty good system that's going forward. What are you doing to train those ISAs? What are you doing to figure out if you've got the right people in place? And then one last question is, how many hours a day do those guys work?
Sure. So the first thing is the biggest thing is, how do you hire them? How do you find the right person first and foremost? So one of the things that we do, we put out ads on Craigslist. We put out ads on Indeed. I've actually found my best people through Craigslist, but we put ads out, and the number of responses have been overwhelming. Like I don't know who to call. It becomes a problem, right? So there's a couple things that we do in our ad that really helps us filter through to get those people that we really want to talk to. So 2 things. One is we have them leave a voice message. I write out exactly what they want, what I want them to say on the ad. So please leave a voice message with the following. And then I also ask them to send me an email, keeping it under 6 sentences on why I should hire them and why I should meet with them, why they think they're a good fit. And so if they make one mistake on any of those 2 things, if they say the wrong thing on the voicemail, if they do 7 sentences instead of 6 sentences, they're automatically out. Okay, so process of elimination. Why? Because you want someone that's going to be able to follow instructions. You want someone that's going to be willing, that can listen, that can understand, that's gonna do the things that they're supposed to do. And then second, it's really important to have someone on the phone that's got a good voice, that sounds pleasant on the phone. Is it someone that you like? Does it sound like they smoke 25 packs of cigarettes a day that you don't want, right? So you want someone that's going to sound pleasant, happy, energetic on the phone. They want to do it. They want to talk to people. So that's what you're looking for when you're listening to that voicemail. And then when they send you the email, what's the grammar like? Do they know how to spell? Do they know how to use spell check? Are they making sense? Are they communicating properly? Why are these things important? Why? Because they're going to be touching your clients. You know, you talk about, I'm scared, I don't want to let go. Well, yeah, but this is how you solve that problem. You find good people that are going to be able to do the right things for you. And so the first two things, those two things are really, really crucial.
So wait, those two things are why, in 6 sentences or less, email me why I should hire you. And what was the voicemail you want them to leave?
Well, I just have them leave, I say, hi, this is your name with Marker Real Estate. I'm calling you regarding 123 Main Street. Please call me at, and then I ask them to leave their phone number. So just like a couple sentences. It could be anything. It's whatever you want them to say. I like to just use like something they probably would say when they're calling someone. And if they, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be like, empathetical or something, but if they sound like if they like stutter or do something wrong, like, hey, I'm sorry, right?
Yeah, we're not hiring projects here. We're hiring professionals.
We need the people, right? Hey, Kevin, let me ask you a question real quick. I want to see back to Brian's question, how you train them, but you said you have 4 ISAs. Are they for different areas, different lead gen, or you just have that many leads? You got these guys on rotation.
We have a lot of leads that we're following up with. We have 35,000 people in our database. So that, like I was saying earlier, is like a resource in itself. So 35,000 people, 4 people touching 35, responsible for 35,000. It's not enough. We need more. But we have kind of a lead ISA that her job is that she's taking the inbound leads that come in. She's responsible for those leads. And they don't, to go back to Brian's question, how many hours? They're not all working like 8-hour shifts. Some people are working like 4 to 6 hours, and some people are it's just a kind of a different rotation for everyone. We do have one that's kind of full-time working all day, but so we have one that's a lead. When she's off, the other person takes over. The way I've scheduled them is like there's always someone kind of that taking that lead role. And you want your best person, the person with the most experience, the person with the most confidence, the person with the most knowledge to be your lead. This is the person that's going to be taking in your inbound leads. These are the best leads that you have, the ones that are coming in right now. So you want the person that's got the most talent to be handling those. And then we have, the other people are kind of, we have some that are working like in Top Producer, there's like new, engaged, future, active, the categories, right? So we have one person that's working one category, another person that's working another category. And another thing we do is we hold our agents accountable. So our agents have to be constantly taking notes in the system so that we know that they're actually doing business, that they're working the leads, right? So one of the ISA's job is they need to go into the Top Producer. They'll pick an agent, let's say. Let's say they pick Brian Curtis. They pick an agent. They go into Brian Curtis's account, see all the leads that have been assigned to Brian Curtis, and then they see has there been any follow-up made in the last week with the particular client. If there hasn't been follow-up for more than a week, the inside sales associate will call the client. And when they call the client, they always introduce themselves as the agent's assistant, because we want to think about conversion. We want to think about somebody has an assistant. Wow, their credibility just shot through the roof, right? They have an assistant. They must be doing something right. They must be successful. People want to work with successful people. So when we call those clients, we say, hey, this is Kevin with Marker Real Estate. I'm Brian's assistant. Just reaching out. I saw that Brian met with you last week. Just want to let you know there's a couple new homes on the market. Would you like Brian to call you? So what that does is that when Brian's out showing a home, or Brian's out, on a listing presentation, he gets a call from Kevin saying, hey, Brian, I just talked with John. He says you're great. He wants to meet with you tomorrow to write an offer on a property. One of the problems that a lot of agents have is like, we're lead gen. We're prospecting, and then we go do the deals, and then we're working on our escrows, and then all the prospecting stuff is forgotten about, right?
That's right.
So what we do, we try to like level that playing field. We try to continue with like keep the prospecting going, and we're doing that for them as a team member, while they're out doing their deals or showings and stuff like that. So it's a really good system. And then we're also tracking to see who's following up. If we have a problem with Brian not following up with his clients on a regular basis, then maybe we need to have a conversation. Maybe we should be, assigning less leads to you because you're too busy, or, so there's a lot with it. I mean, it's a really good process, and I can talk about it for another 15 hours.
All right, so I want to ask you a question on that. So a couple of things. First and foremost, I love the comment of, hey, look, if you're not following up with leads, that just means you're probably too busy. So, hey, no big deal. We'll just go ahead and we'll slow down the lead flow a little bit until you're able to catch up. One of the questions I have for you, are you doing anything like a daily huddle or anything like that with your team?
We do a weekly call. The daily huddle is, I think it's really great. It's something that we're thinking about doing. But right now, lost you guys. You guys there?
Yep, we just lost you, Kevin. All right, well, you're back.
Okay, cool. So we do a weekly call. I think one of the things for me personally, I don't, and I know you agree, well, maybe not, but I don't know about like coming and meeting every single day or meeting once a week. I feel like our time can be used a little bit more efficiently. So I know with the daily huddles, you do phone calls.
Yep.
We do a weekly phone call, and Michael, you're going to be on our Friday call this
That's
Friday.
Right. I'm looking forward to it. That's going to be great.
So we try to bring people in and really successful people like you, Michael, to come and talk and share ideas and stuff like that. So we do that once a week. But I do think it's important to meet with your team, kind of see where people are at, motivate if motivation's needed, or just to track to see where things are. I mean, are people following up or doing what they're doing, what they're supposed to be doing? Is there something I should be doing for you to help you? Well, how can I support you? My thing too is really, I'm here to like serve. And I don't want to sound cheesy or whatever, but I'm here to like help you succeed. I want to do what's best to empower you. That's where I'm at right now. And that's like the greatest feeling in the world.
All right, I got to touch on that. And Mike and Brian, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but I just recently had an interaction in one of the Facebook groups with somebody who was adamant that, no, those agents work for me. And I'm like, listen, man, you are totally missing the boat. If you have that attitude, they're not going to work for you for very long. So you've got to understand, you work for them. Your job is to support and help them and provide them with everything they need and get all the stuff off the plate that they don't want to or need to be dealing with, and allowing them the environment in which they can just do what they're best at. What do you guys think?
Well, I completely agree with that. So I think too many people look at themselves as team managers. To me, if I have to give myself a name, it would be team leader. I want to lead them. I want to create win-win situations where they can succeed, I can succeed, and we do things together. Because the truth of the matter is I don't want to go show 25 houses today. I don't have time. Like Kevin said, I can't do that. I can't go on 25 listing appointments today. So I have to empower other people to do what they want to do and help them. Because if I come in and say, you guys aren't doing a good job, you're not doing a good job, not doing a job, who wants to be around that? It's, hey guys, here's some things that maybe we can do better. And I love the idea of leadership over management. I feel like too many people try and manage, and when you manage, people don't want to work with you anymore.
That's right.
Even when oh, sorry, go ahead, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say, Michael's helped me a lot with, as a pretty much a driver. Heidi, I don't have a lot of time or patience to, maybe it just comes with age, 26 years in the business, you just kind of get old and grumpy, but I have bad delivery. So Michael helped me understand that Tammy, the team leader, needs to manage the team, and I need to be there to support and train because I'm a trainer by nature. And for the last couple of weeks, I've been staying out of our team and letting Tammy do her job. And all I've been doing is setting up Taco Tuesday and serving them and making them plates. And, last night we had Taco Tuesday at the house, and the agents got to come and talk. And typically if they get around me, I say, you guys all suck. You're doing this wrong. You need to follow up more. You need to do this. And now that they see they're appreciated, I think they see that, oh, okay, Mike's changing a little bit. And now it's starting to be a little more fun. I think they're enjoying working for us a little bit more. or with us, I should say. And I think it's a really good, transition for me in my life to just say, look, it's under control, and we make sure we follow up and watch, and we have those discussions sometimes privately, and I think that's a little better than standing around a table screaming at them every day.
And the other thing, yeah, it's definitely, I think, would be better. Also, I think it's important to understand the business and put in the work and be in the trenches and understand what it takes to be an agent, what they're doing out there every single day. It's almost like, being on think about, like I'm being on a battlefield. I mean, like the person I want to be the one that out there with you. I want to be out there with you, fighting with you, helping in whatever way I can. And also it's like we're level. I mean, there's no ego here. Like I'm here to help you, right? Even when we're assigning leads, I never call someone my buyer's agent or my little assistant or whatever. Like I refer to people as my business partner. I work on a team. My business partner, Michael, he knows the area really well. He's going to reach out to you and he's going to set up that appointment with you. I just feel like it not only just, it kind of makes them feel like they're not like a little assistant or whatever. It also increases the conversion rate. Why? Because the person, the client, doesn't want to work with an assistant. They don't want to work with a little, whatever. They want to work with someone who's got credibility, that has success, that knows what they do. They want to work with the best. So if I refer to them as a business partner, now we're on the level. Now we're all on a level playing field. And what it also allows me to do is when my agents are in trouble, they need help on something, they can say to the client, "Oh well, let me bring my business partner in, Kevin. We're going to talk with you about this. We're going to figure this out." And as opposed to saying like my superior, because I don't know enough, I need to bring my other superior person in here that can tell us what to do. I just think that way is, it just works. I think it works really well. It works really well for me.
That's a true team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really more like the Knights of the Round Table at that point, and that's really, honestly, I think that if people only come away with one thing out of this entire Club Wealth TV episode, that one thing right there could change the face of every team that's watching this. When you refer to them as your business partner, and this is what I got out of that, and what I firmly believe as well, Kevin, when you refer to them as your business partner, conversion rates go up. Forget about all the other ancillary benefits you get out of it. You get more buy-in from your team. The team is more excited to be a part of the team. Each team member feels more valued and appreciated. But again, if all the team leader's thinking about is dollars, fine, okay, you're gonna get better conversion by calling him your partner than you will by saying they're your buyer's agent.
Yeah. The clients will respect him a lot more. We have 8 minutes, Kevin, and I want to take over for a second because I'm going to just call you after we hang up anyways and start asking you. So we might as well do it with other people listening. So I'm extremely interested to know, you have 35 agents on your team. How far widespread are you geographically? Are these somewhat expansion teams, or are these just since the metro San Francisco area is so big and the suburbs? I mean, do you have 2 in this area, 2 in this area, 2 in this area? Is that kind of how you're working it?
Our company's in San Francisco. We have 2 offices in San Francisco. We also we're in, I don't want to say 9 counties all throughout the Bay Area. We just expanded down to Orange County as well, which is down in Southern California. We also partner with agents outside of our company. So if I have someone that doesn't work in my company that doesn't work in a particular area, and we have leads there, this is one way that we've been able to leverage our leads to build our team. So I have probably 15 agents that are not part of Market Real Estate that are working leads for us in different markets. So but to answer your question, we do have agents in different areas, primarily focused in San Francisco itself, but we do have agents that are working in specific parts of the state. But one thing I want to say is if you want to expand, here's how I was able to expand into different markets is I just simply bought leads in those markets, okay? And I bought leads in those markets, and then I found agents that'd be willing to work them. It's the same thing that I did when I first started building a team here in San Francisco. Same exact thing. It can be done anywhere. You can go to Florida, you can go to Texas, you can go to California, Seattle. You just need to have, what's your value proposition? What do people want? Michael, you're doing a really cool thing I want to check out. Why 87% of agents fail in the first 5 years? Why is that? You guys should check that out, by the way. I'm really excited to see that.
That's coming up. That's coming up tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow. And yeah,
Right in the middle of my weekly training. Thanks, Michael.
there you go.
Tomorrow, I'm going to check that out. I want to hear what you have to say. My opinion on that is not because they're not good salespeople, not because they don't want to go out and work. It's because they're not able to drum up enough business to get out there and do what they wanted to do real estate for in the first place, which is to help other people. And so with the leads, I'm able to bridge the gap from being a new agent or being a struggling agent or being someone that just wants additional income. I can bridge that gap to get you from point A, which is starting out or struggling or whatever, to point B, which is where you want to be with the lead flow, right? And the other thing, one other thing is I think people have a problem with implementation. You can learn all you want. I can read 1 million books, but if I don't implement what I've learned, what you just waste. I mean, yeah, you might have more knowledge, but how has that impacted your life other than knowing stuff? I can learn all day long, but it's much more powerful and better to implement those things.
Well, and learning, and don't get me, and I agree with you 100%, Kevin. You've got to be learning all the time, but learning without the implementation, it's like rowing with one oar in the water, right? You just go in circles all day long. And look at me, I'm learning. It's awesome. I'm going to another seminar. I'm reading another book. Woohoo!
Yeah.
You know, like freaking do something. Get out there and implement something, for goodness sake. Because if you don't pick up the freaking phone once in a while and actually connect with somebody who's thinking about buying or selling a home, guess what? You're going to have a tough time in this business. You have to talk with people, either voice to voice or face to face. I mean, that's just, and people always say, oh, but the millennials, this. Listen, you still got to get voice to voice and face to face with people and build relationships. This is a relationship business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's a relationship business. It's a communications business. And a lot of times we're hiding behind, the phone. We're hiding behind the computer screen because, we don't, just a matter of just getting out there and doing it, right? Really. I mean, it's a lot of times people have this avoidance. You don't want to pick up the phone. You don't want to call. You don't want to go meet people. And you have this fear of that. And I think people just need to get over it. You know why? Because that's what's going to help you make money. You need to get over that and just go out and do it.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm done.
All right, so we got time for one more question, then we got to do our quick wrap ups. And so Juan Chavez asked a great question. He wants to know the process that you're using to convert those online leads. And he's saying, I'm generating them now, but my conversion rate's low. So what specific process does an online lead go through with your office to make sure they're converting?
There's 5 things you need to do when you get an online lead, okay? Number 1, the first thing you want to do is you want to set an appointment. First thing you want to do, you want to set an appointment with them. Number 2 is you want to find out what's important to them. You want to find out, are they thinking about a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom? What area are they considering? Number 3, you want to find out, are they committed to an agent? And I use the word committed. And I don't say, are you working with an agent? Because everyone's working with an agent. What does that really mean? And I kind of don't even ask. I kind of tell them. So I kind of structure the question or the statement like this. Hey, so it sounds like you're just kind of starting things out. You're not committed to an agent, right? Just kind of starting things out. All right, yeah, right. So like the chances of them saying yes and agreeing with you, far greater. So number 4 is you want to find out, do they have a lender? Have they talked to someone about financing? And again, I think the way you structure it, I don't like to ask people, hey, are you pre-approved? Because it's a little abrasive, frankly. So I kind of ask, and I say in a way like this, hey, have you talked with a lender about financing yet? Have you talked with a lender about financing yet? And if they say no, okay, great. Now you just open up an opportunity to start talking about maybe your lender or your people that you can refer them to that are great, right? So that's number 4. And then number 5, one that we always forget, do you have a home to sell? Because 25% of people that we've dealt with that are online leads have a home to sell. So those are the 5 steps. I learned that from Tristan, by the way. And then, so 5 steps. And then the other thing is follow-up. Follow-up is everything, okay? We have a 32-day follow-up schedule that I'll be happy to share with you, Michael, where I'll give you a quick example of how our follow-up has worked for us. So we had 5 people inquire about 5 different houses on the same exact day, okay? We followed up with those people within a 17-day period. We followed up with those people 26 times with either phone call, text message, or email. Within 17 days, 26 follow-ups, okay? They all responded to us, all 5 of those people responded to us on the same exact day, on the 17th day. And guess what their response was?
I can't wait to hear it.
It was either, hey, I'm sorry for not getting back to you, or, hey, thank you so much for reaching out to me. I've been really busy. I've been thinking about you. I just want to get back to you. Thanks for keeping in contact with me.
Yeah.
Hardly ever do we get people that are upset with us, or, we always think like as agents, I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to. Well, look, these people have inquired about property. They've asked me. Frankly, they've interrupted my day when they sent out that inquiry to ask about property. So don't be afraid to follow up. I mean, it's just a matter of getting back to them. And hey, maybe I'm missing something. I want to make sure I answer your questions. I hope I'm not dropping the ball. That's one thing you do a lot, right, Michael? So I don't want to drop the ball. I just want to make sure we're touching base with you and making sure we're answering your questions. If you get someone that is upset, hey, I'm sorry. I just didn't want to miss. I want to make sure I got back to you right away. I want to make sure that I answered your questions. You want me to take you off our list? No problem, right? Okay, you might get 5% of people that do that. But it's just really staying in front of them, being top of mind with them. We also are using Facebook custom audiences, people that come in. We're targeting people based on zip code, based on city, based on neighborhood. And it's, again, staying top of mind, staying in front of them. And that's really been, for us, a great way to convert. Our conversion rate's like 7%.
Which is great. That's good. Anything over 5, you're doing good. You need to be a minimum of 5. So, but you're at 7%. That's a good conversion rate. And what's interesting is that extra little 2% doesn't sound like a lot. It's a big deal at the end of the day. What's that, Brian?
It's a ton.
It is a ton.
Yeah.
You're right about that. All right, so here's the thing, Kevin. We've got to wrap up. We are over time. I want to thank you very, very much for joining us today. This has been awesome. Before we wrap up, we always, at the very end, I like to go rapid fire with everybody on the call, find out what their biggest takeaway from the call was. So we're going to start with Brian, go to Mike, go to Kevin, then come back to me. So Brian, biggest takeaway of the day?
My biggest takeaway, and it's more of a reminder than anything else, is, and I love this, I say it over and over again, but it's good to hear that it makes sense. Relationship business. This is a relationship business, and it's not just a relationship business from what Kevin shared with our buyers, sellers, clients, but it's a relationship business with our business partners too. And I love that idea. And thanks for kind of reinforcing that for us today, Kevin. Appreciate it.
I love it. Great takeaway. Thanks, Brian. Mike, takeaway.
My 2 takeaways from today. Number 1, that if this guy's got 4 ISAs that work and doing a hybrid, I guess I could try that too. And my second takeaway from it is we don't need to be a slave to only one portal, because we can hire people to do our own PPC. We can hire our own people to do our ads. We don't need to have one company put all our eggs in one basket and be there, be tied to them.
Love it. That's fantastic. Great one. Kevin, your biggest takeaway of today?
My biggest takeaway, I think, is just, talking through this and thinking more about the model that we have as our ISA model, and thinking maybe more about shifting that towards more of an agent-focused model where we're assigning leads directly to agents, and with that, holding them more accountable, and thinking about scale. So thinking about scaling this into a larger operation as a company is probably my biggest takeaway.
I love it. And I like that you're thinking about, how do I scale this? Because, 100 million in volume is just not enough. I got to figure out how do I really actually scale this to bigger than 100 million? That's awesome. I love the way you think, man. You're a big thinker. We love that about you. All right. So a couple of my biggest takeaways were, 1, I love early in your career that you led with revenue. You didn't just go out and hire an assistant just to hire an assistant. You actually got some buyer's agents, and that way you and the buyer's agent together essentially are paying now for the assistant. So leading with revenue is a big part of it. The other thing, and I'm gonna defer back to Juan Chavez. Juan, thank you very, very much. You've asked a lot of great questions today, and I'm gonna say that, Juan, you get the 5 entries to the Hawaiian Vacation giveaway drawing. So thank you, Juan, for asking lots of questions and good ones. And to your point, I want to see your 30-day, 2-day schedule. So what I would love to know is, Kevin, would you be willing to share that 32-day schedule with us? And if so, would you be okay with us sharing that to the world?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to do that. I'll send you an email, Michael, after this call, and feel free to share it with anyone you like.
That would be fantastic. I'll post a link to it here, and when we post this on our Facebook, or excuse me, on our website at clubwealth.com. And for those of you that haven't been to clubwealth.com already, you need to go to clubwealth.com. A lot of great free information there. Go check out the blog. It's very solid stuff. Every one of our blog posts has a free 1 hour. Well, it's anywhere from 15 minutes to a full 1 hour video on each topic, and always a free download that's rock solid. So we'll make sure that as the download, we'll include Kevin's 32 day follow, or 32, is it 32 day or 32 point?
32 day.
32 day follow-up schedule. So we'll include that in there. And what I want you guys all, here's my big takeaway. Givers get. Kevin Markarian is successful because Kevin is a giver. And when you're a giver, people want to be a part of your world. When you're a taker, they just think you suck. And so, Kevin, congratulations on being a giver. I appreciate you and everybody else, my co-hosts, Mike and Brian, for being on the call as well. Everybody, regardless of what you're feeling today, regardless of how your week is gone, your day is gone, your month is gone, understand inside you is a world-class person just dying to get out. You got to unleash that world-class beast. You and you alone get to decide whether or not you're going to be mediocre or you're going to be world-class. So my parting thought to you is go be world-class.